double toil and trouble, or is it?
It was like, exactly, it was a Connecticut light version of exactly that. Followed by the 4th grade Pandora's Box, where I was despair, the worst of them all. So, you know, it's got a long history. I was doomed to fail.
Come on, steering wheel of death. Okay, Lauren, you're good to go.
Okay, guys, call to order, let us pledge to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madame.
Chairman Strong,
Here.
Yeah.
Mr. Jones,
Here.
Mr. Buckleiter is not here. Mr. Saras,
Here.
Mr. Pinsky.
Yeah.
Ms. Maloney.
Here. Okay, announcements and communications. We don't have anything on the docket that I believe warrants a workshop meeting. So I'll make a motion to cancel the September 28th workshop meeting. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Against, abstain. And then a reminder, the October regular meeting is on Thursday, October 8th, because of Columbus Day. So mark your calendars. And I think we succeeded this time. That is not, we did it earlier, so we're not going to hit the ZBA.
Right.
Which is our problem.
So it's at 7?
Yeah.
At 7 on the 8th.
Trainings, or we have a veritable tsunami of trainings. If everybody doesn't have their 4 hours, and I'm coming with a pellet gun. Because we get nothing but like God, and they're easy. You can do them at home. You can do them while not really paying attention. And there's a lot of really good ones that Mike has been sending and Brand has been sending. There's a lot of very interesting ones and a lot that are quite germane to everything we're working on. Action on the minutes. The August 10th regular planning board minutes, they need to be amended because the seeker determination motion for Rex wasn't on there. So beyond that, I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at them. We could push it forward and review it, or I could make a motion to approve as amended, including the seeker part that Brianna forgot to add on.
So you moved, I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstain? And also the August 31st workshop meeting minutes. Did everybody, any comments, anything?
I'll make a motion
Okay,
to approve.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstain? All right, first application is Mr. Courtwright. It is Planning Board 20-2006 for a lot line adjustment, and between Mr. Courtwright and Mr. O'Connor and Ms. O'Brien. So I don't know if everybody got a chance to look at it.
So Mara and I've got Flynn O'Connor and Frank unmuted.
I see Flynn.
Yep, who else? Is there anyone else? Is there anyone else for that application, or just the 2 of you?
Yep.
Just
Okay.
us.
Okay,
So Flynn, do you want to like run through quickly? It was ages ago, you guys came and were talking about doing this and did sort of a pre-app and then haven't been around. Do you want to go through a bit what you're doing for the board? And it's quite clear to me because I've already seen it, but maybe everybody else would like to hear it.
Yep, just taking, it's a 1.2, whatever's on the map across the street and adding it to our house, just because our house has such limited parking. Way back our house and that, and the surrounding two houses was all one thing, like 100 years ago, 200 years, whenever it was, and they split it off. So we just don't have, there's like no space for parking on our side. So this way it would give us, plenty of parking space across the street. That's pretty much it's not for building or anything else, but just to have space. We've been using the space. Frank's been nice enough to let us use the space, but we don't own the space.
It's mainly a safety issue there. He's got to park on the highway on Rochester Center Road, and it's pretty tough. So this will give him ample parking area and make things a lot easier to negotiate on that road. It's tight as it is there.
So Mayor, I'm okay with it. Just a technical question. Does this become a different section block and lot because it's bisected by Rochester
No,
Center
it's
Road?
like
Or does
going
it?
the opposite of what we have had before.
It's an unnatural.
Instead of creating a natural subdivision, we're creating a natural subdivision.
Okay,
So it does, it's all one SBL, so it's a little funky, but at the same time, it is better because we're getting close to the 2-acre zoning that it's in. So, I mean, right now, it's grossly undersized for the area.
for the area.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't get like 0.12 more acres in there, and you'd be totally compliant?
No, it makes it over two.
No.
No, it's,
1.8.
the total is 1.88.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was
Exactly.
reading it. I'm sorry.
We had kept
Don't
it
need
low.
much of-
We want to avoid somebody, if I was to die in a car accident or something like that, we don't want to allow anybody to build in the future. Nothing is going to be built there. It's just going to be what it is. So we're just trying to keep it small enough that would no other buildings would go up. That was the idea.
That's the purpose there, just to protect myself
Yeah.
from
Should not have.
somebody building there and then complaining about the mine that's,
Adjacent to it.
that's active right there. So it's, and it does line up with his property line, even though it's on the other side of the street. It lines up pretty much with his property that's existing. So it's really not an issue, I would say.
No, it is an issue. It's just it was sort of a throwaway nice to have as opposed to a need to have, that it would be totally exactly at 2 acres, but it's fine the way it is. So anybody else have any? If it is just 2 acres, nobody could subdivide it. Although you're right, maybe somebody, because that's.
We worry that to make a bigger piece, because neither of us I don't want houses there either. So we're trying to keep it so it always is just the barn and a field, and that's it.
It's fine. It's totally fine. Anybody else have any?
I understand what you're asking,
Yeah.
but it's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to certify the lot line adjustment. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstain. All right, you're on your way. It's done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care. All right, next is the Sleeping Giant Ice Cream Company and Robert Christian. Am I saying it correctly this time? Christiane. It is planning board 2020-06 for a special use permit.
Mr. Christian, is there anybody else representing you or just yourself?
Terry Ringler is here.
Okay, you have mute Terry? Okay. We're all set, Martin.
Everybody's pretty much gone through all of this. It's probably the nicest, cleanest, cut and dry we've had in a while. So I would make a motion to open up our public hearing unless anybody in the board has any further discussion. Is there anybody This is up to
I
Mike.
second your motion.
Thank you. We're gonna open it up for public hearing for any comments on the Sleeping Giant Ice Cream Company from the public.
The person that is listed as Omni, are you here to speak? I'm gonna unmute you briefly.
That's the solar group.
Okay, and the person at the phone number 631-495-4950. Do you wish to speak? You're still muted.
Maybe they're muted on their end.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what you have to hit to unmute from a phone. Star.
Either star 9 or star 7. I don't remember.
Oh, there they are. They're unmuted.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, my name is Christian Schlesinger. I'm logged in twice here, and I'm actually here to listen in on the fourth item on the agenda tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So in light of no commentary from the public,
Did you get the county comments back?
the county did not get comments back in time, so they,
Okay, I will tell you, they approved it with recommendations, I believe. So,
they're not included in this decision because we did not see it today. I will make a motion to close the public hearing,
Actually, if you don't have the county comments, you can't close the public hearing.
even if they don't make it in the time frame.
it's 30 days from when they
30 days.
received it.
From receipt.
We do have the county comments, don't we?
No.
No.
we didn't get
No.
them.
Nope,
No,
it
no.
was sent to them on what date?
Yeah, we do. Ulster County.
No, it's a referral.
No, that's the
Oh, that's
referral.
just a
referral to
referral.
them.
Sorry.
What date did we refer it? Brianna, I'm looking on this and I don't see it.
It was the beginning of the month. Meeting was on the second, wasn't it? Second, I think, September.
Does it say on their file?
So it was there August 20 something.
Okay, so they haven't had 30 days. So we can't close the public hearing or make a decision.
You have to be kidding me.
So just extend the public hearing.
Yeah, so we
Keep it
have
open.
to.
Yeah, but we can't make a decision and we really. All right, so since the county didn't get back to us on time, we can't close the public hearing. And I would say you have no problem here because does anybody else have any other comments, any other problem tentatively indicating that we think this is approval since we tentatively have indicated that the county has said.
Their one
had
concern,
recommendations,
Lauren,
they said.
was the angle of the parking spaces was sort of counter to people pulling in. Their recommendation was that the layout of this differently.
The fire department did say they had no problem with it. though.
I'm just
Yeah.
telling you what the comment was.
Why don't we,
Would
I
you
like
guys
the
be
project.
willing
let's
to,
wait till we see the Ulster County Planning Board comments.
well, we just heard what the comments are.
Is that the
Yeah,
only one?
but Lauren,
I know we can't close it, but what I'm saying, would everybody be willing to come in for a workshop to approve this? You wanna wait till the next meeting?
We just canceled the workshop.
I know we can uncancel it. I can make a motion to uncancel the meeting we canceled.
Why can't we
well,
wait
it's
till the
gonna
next
be
meeting?
about a week later. We're doing it on the 8th anyway.
So
Our
we
next
ask the
meeting is the
applicant if they
8th.
have an urgency. I mean, it's a seasonal business that won't be open until next summer.
Do you mind if we push this because we did not get the county comments back on time and we can't close the public hearing? That we read the decision at the next meeting in October 8th, which will be earlier because of the switch earlier. Do you have a timing constraint at all here?
No, the October 8th is fine. I guess my question is, though, if there's something I should be looking at with the parking spaces in order to have everything so that everybody's happy, or what else is required for me, to move forward? Or just wait till the 8th and then it's all good?
Change the plan.
We can overrule what the county says as a suggestion by a
It
supermajority.
was advisory, so you didn't even have to. do
It
that.
was advisory, so we don't even have to do that. So I think you can just sit tight until the 8th and everything's fine.
Okay, then that's great. Thank you.
Sorry about that, and we'll talk to you on the 8th then.
Can I ask a question before we? Mr. Christian?
Yeah.
The diagram you gave us, is that to scale?
Yes, it is. You told us last time.
So is your consultant or whoever you use satisfied that at that angle, cars are going to be able to back out without hitting the car across the way and be able to get out of the parking lot?
Yeah, well, I based it on my
You
experience.
see what the,
That's why I was interested in what they were saying.
is this the way it's laid out now? Well, no, you don't have parking there now.
No, now it's pretty
No,
much.
it's very, very
So
haphazard. That's why I was interested in their comments.
Well, you get the comments.
So when I get, the comments should be in the next day or so. I will email them to you so we can see if they have an improved angle of parking, that maybe we could alter slightly the angle of parking. And Terry's online, so he can have a look at it also, and to see if we should have it slightly changed in angle. I did send it to the fire department and they had no problem, and we heard nothing back from the highway. So I take that as a no problem from them. So we should get it, we should get it in a day or two, and I'll send it right out to you and you can have a look at it, okay?
That's great. That's very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board information, the way state law runs, if we were to make a decision before we have the comment for 30 days have passed, there's no statute of limitations. It's like our decision is void and somebody would challenge it 20 years down the road.
and you're still stuck.
Yeah. So
So
better to
it's
wait,
not a time barred.
better to wait a month than wait 20 years.
All right, next is 2020-03. It's Ledley, Lake Arrowwood for a minor subdivision.
Is that Mr. Medenbach?
Mr. Mitenbach, are you representing them?
You should be unmuted, Barry.
Yeah, we have a letter about.
How about now? You guys
There you
hear?
go.
Hello?
Yep.
Yeah, am I unmuted? Can you hear me? No, you
Hear
can't.
you. You're good.
I'm good?
All right, so you guys remember this. This is carving out a 3.14 acre lot out of the existing brewery lot. And they chose to have an extremely long driveway. How long is the driveway, Barry?
I'd have to guess here. It's probably about 2,000 feet.
That's right, Barry.
And they added turnouts every 500 feet for emergency vehicles. They're going to have to improve the road because right now it's field, it's not road.
No, there is a woods road there, and the entrance, the first half of it is actually the driveway into the Arrowwood Brewing facility there. So that's in pretty good shape. And,
It's pretty much
well,
filled or dirt, so something will have to be added to it.
yeah, the second part of it, they'd have to make some improvements, but the first part is in pretty good shape. But that, that would have to be, that would all be done as, it's just a single family home. So the second part would have to be improved as part of the building permit, before he got a CO. I mean, they wouldn't give him a CO until I had proper driveway. And we showed, some pull-offs at basically 500 feet interval so that you could, if there was an emergency, emergency vehicles could pull over and pass.
So one difficulty we have is that they're going to have to redo the site plan for the existing brewery properties, amended 5 times also. So they should be conscious of that. It probably should be done in concert, because now you're changing the lot lines. And that probably means you need to do another noise study, because now the lot lines that are the periphery of the place, quote unquote, making the noise has changed.
What was that? Well, what's happening is
So you're gonna need to amend the,
the house that's going up is going to be owned by the fellow who runs the brewery. So he would be the only one that would be affected, newly affected by the noise. So how would that require? Why would that?
he could turn around and sell it tomorrow. It doesn't matter who the owner is. We're looking at the existing decision and what's happening to the lot. So they're gonna have to do a new noise study. And we'll probably, I have not looked in depth at the existing site plan to see if there's something else that might need to be amended. I don't think there was really anything going on in that part. It's the first thing I could come off the top of my mind. So they're going to have to do that. It probably should be done in concert.
Maren, or Brianna, is what we're looking at on Google Drive, is that the updated with the 500-foot trainouts and
If
everything?
it's dated
Yes.
December 1st, that's what it says.
The one that says 8/27/2020 revised maps at the top.
I also have a question.
Oops, over here, 827. Okay, sorry. I'm just not seeing them. Oh, I see it. Sorry.
Yeah, and Barry, the other thing, I've been to the brewery recently and the new building's looking great. The one thing I did notice though is it seemed to me like the event parking space was being used as the primary parking lot, which seems like something that if we need to amend the site plan, that should be included in the amendment. It looks like there may be some other things going on in the parking lot that's indicated on the existing site plan. So if we are doing this amendment, it would be really nice to bring the site plan up to date to reflect the actual facts on the ground, so to speak. And also, I think it's germane to the request for the road frontage waiver, because now you're proposing a residential driveway that's basically going through an active commercial parking lot, which seems different than just going through, totally vacant land. Again, in the, potential future scenario where the lot is sold, someone, it might not be as desirable to have your driveway going through a parking lot of a commercial enterprise that you don't own.
Right, and in 122J1, it does say that the shared driveway shall be utilized by no more than a total of 3 single-family residential lots, including the lot it has access over. So that's,
Well, that is it. There's only one lot using it, but that lot they're going over happens to be highly commercial.
it's a commercial lot, right? And this says you can have 3 residential lots.
Exactly.
So I have a way the question.
So actually, there's
Right away.
lots. There's already using it. The Lee Wong is already using it for his house as well. At the very entrance to the brewery. This is
Right,
Heather.
it's being used by,
So how many houses are using this now?
well, Mary Lou's, there's one lot. The code references
So
lots,
this will be
not
the third.
residences, but it references residential lots, not commercial lots. So here we have a residential lot with a commercial use on it, which is neither, so
And
like-
it's going
it
through
is
the
a
commercial
residential lot, but
use.
it's literally passing through
Through
the commercial use of the
Exactly.
residential lot. So it's
Which technically, if you read this to the letter, says
it's vague.
it's vague.
It doesn't explicitly.
It doesn't explicitly say what we do when you're going through when you're sharing commercial with,
However, they're requesting that we grant a waiver from a rule
right,
requiring road frontage. So my understanding is that's completely at our discretion whether we wish to grant that.
And in the waiver, that 3 residential lots is one of the, no more than 3 residential lots.
Right, but even if it was no more than 3, clearly we're still not bound to grant the waiver. That's what makes it.
Right, that's true.
I mean, here it seems like you could have road frontage by coming in off of
exactly.
Mill
Oh,
Hook,
Mill Hook.
which is, they're choosing to do it, which is their right, but if they're requesting a waiver.
From something.
So can you hear what, I totally agree with what Sam is saying, that they have the right to request a waiver as to why this is the optimal way, when they could just make the entire lot a funky shaped lot, but lot 1 could just,
Is that still brewery property or it's a new lot, part of new lot property?
So you're saying.
the right of way will be created to go with this lot.
Okay, so why they cannot use, as a driveway to the access to the house?
Because what he's saying is insufficient frontage with the access via shared driveway.
Ah,
We may grant a waiver from required lot frontage. They do not have the required lot frontage, but they could if they were on Mill Hook. They would have required lot frontage there, but they're choosing not to do by the developer to the planning board to permit a subdivision, which would result in access to no more than 2 single-family dwellings or lots which do not have the required minimum frontage. The shared driveway shall be utilized by no more than a total of 3 single-family residential lots, including the lot is access over. We shall review such application in the manner as prescribed under Town of Rochester Code 140-10 D3. And no approval shall be granted unless a release has been given to the town and approved by the town board, making it clear the town is exempt from all responsibility for maintaining the driveway, basically. This also has to go in the deed pendant. So they're gonna have to write an official request.
We've gotten that.
Where?
Yeah, we have a request.
there?
I mean, it's just a
from Bill
one
Eggers, But
sentence.
I don't think it fulfills really what we.
Yeah, there's just.
That's not enough because there's other alternatives here. The other alternative being you make access from Mill Hook. Why this is a preferred alternative needs to be better expressed than we want to do this. They're also gonna have to amend the site plan to the existing brewery, which the only thing I can think of the top of my head will require a noise study. There are probably other things. Oh, and also the parking, changing the parking because you're gonna have somebody's driveway. I mean, they have a permit to be able to do concerts. So yes, it is Blake who is gonna live there at this point, but things happen in life. And we're doing this for the land, not for the person. And you could have a driveway where they have to drive through a concert parking lot.
Right.
Which
You know,
is
we would
probably
give-
suboptimal in land use planning.
You know, Mayor, we would give the applicant some indication if we even want to entertain, given the waiver, given the fact that there is access on Mill Hook. It'd be one thing if there wasn't access on Mill Hook. So rather than have them, I mean, they had got a lot of work to do anyway.
I mean, I'm disinclined
My
to grant
sense-
the waiver, given.
You have
a
access
viable
over Mill Hook.
alternative. You don't even have to change the lot boundaries, you just have to change the routing of the driveway.
Yeah, why?
You could request a waiver from the lot frontage and still have a different driveway. Like, they don't have to include the Millhook access as part of this new lot. They could just put the driveway on the right of way that they're proposing. And then we could still grant a waiver, but with a different driveway.
I see what you're saying.
That's my
Because
preference.
I do find the driveway going through a permanent event space and
It's
access
not a
to
good
new
idea.
residential portion.
I
I
agree.
see that as sort of a non-starter,
I agree.
especially given that it requires a waiver and there's a clear alternative.
It's an alternative.
So did you hear that? A better solution, we sort of collectively think would be to have a driveway that goes in with a right of way coming off of Mill Hook into the house,
Yeah,
into the
well, the
lot,
map actually shows that.
and not,
If you look at the map, it actually proposes that as a right of way. But I believe there's some physical
Yeah.
constraint. Heather, maybe you know what the physical constraint is out there?
Well, right now there's, it hasn't, well, first of all, there isn't an existing farm lane there, so it would involve disturbing land that hasn't really been disturbed yet. And then there's also something going on with the property. There's the neighbor, one of the neighboring property owners has been using that right of way inadvertently. So now we need to sort out those issues. But the whole point is that there's an existing road all the way to that lot. So to create a new road seemed not in the best interest of the land. I mean, true, we could use that right of way in the future, but right now there's an existing farm lane that would just need to be improved, which is why we presented the plan the way that it is now. If you want us to create a brand new driveway off of Mill Hook, we could do that. It just seemed to be the less logical solution given the current applicant, which is the owner of the brewery.
I don't follow logic. If you're saying there is a disturbance of the land there right now, there are trees there. So why are you bringing on the map to that right away to begin with?
It's already an existing right of way in that they can access the land off of Mill Hook, but there is no driveway there.
Plus,
existing.
the focus here too is that the fellow who's actually running the brewery is gonna put a house on this new lot 1, and he will be traveling between the brewery and the lot probably multiple times every day. So that would be his primary access. The lot will have a right of way out to Mill Hook Road, so that if Maren said, if this gets sold in the future and somebody else is there, they could then build a driveway out to Mill Hook Road.
We should try to
You know, so that it's not like we're not allowing that. If you look at the map, it says it's a proposed right of way. So basically, he would have a proposed right of way coming into both. He wants to simply use the one that exists now, and it's much more convenient for him.
going back and forth to the brewery, he can walk back and forth to the brewery. I mean, that's
Right.
sort of a non-starter of a reason. And once again, Mary Lou, correct me if I'm wrong, it really doesn't matter if it's the owner of the brewery or not dividing this up.
Well, except for the convenience of the person who's building the house and living there. It's his, it's convenient for him. And
That's
that's-
not what
Yes,
we
you
want.
can do it. Just-
Our issue, the convenience of the person that lives there, that happens to work
You
there.
still
He still can do it, he still can walk.
Right, there's a farm road there.
There's a
Yeah.
farm road there, he
Yeah.
can walk along the farm road, he can
He
take
can
his
ride on it.
ATV and go along the farm road and go to the brewery.
You can get a golf
Yeah,
cart.
there's several questions that I think we're mixing together. I mean, one, it's my understanding that part of this existing parcel, it's not just a right of way, it's actually part of the parcel that there's a 50-foot strip that connects out to Mill Hook.
right.
So
That's
what's
correct.
proposed is not, what's proposed is granting lot 1 right of way over lot 2, which is logically equivalent to what you're proposing, where you're currently proposing the driveway. All we're saying is you're requesting a waiver from road frontage, which this board is under no obligation to grant. I think we're expressing clearly that we're disinclined to grant that waiver with the current driveway configuration. And we're much more inclined to grant the waiver if the driveway does not require passage through a permitted commercial event space. That's what we're saying. You have an other option that does not require passage through an inconvenient commercial event space that's available. And that we could even decline that because the lot still requires a waiver the way it's presented. So we're suggesting an alternative way that would increase at least the inclination of this board member to vote in favor of granting the waiver that's being requested.
And I personally agree with Sam. We could have sort of, it's in a vote, but
A consensus.
a consensus. Does
I-
everybody have a
I
consensus to
agree.
what Sam very articulately just pointed?
There's no need for the waiver. If they didn't have the access to Mill Hook, fine. But there is access, so why give them the waiver?
They still need
They
a
still need a
waiver.
waiver.
Still needs a
Still need
waiver.
a
For a
waiver,
commercial
exactly,
Different route.
Right.
but for a different route. So I think you need to go back and speak with them. And then a second issue that, to not
Yeah.
confuse them, you still have to amend the site plan.
And Mr.
Yeah,
Arrowood
that's, I understand that. We have to amend the site plan.
Have to do it.
But I'm just trying to, so let me see if I get the board's opinion right, because I think it's just the practicality and also the expense involved. He would like to build a house here on lot 1 and use the driveway now for the brewery. But he would always have the option and the ability to put the driveway in out to Mill Hook Road. But he doesn't want to put that in right away, for various reasons. So does the board have a problem with that? That if he uses the driveway over the brewery site for the house, and then at some time in the future, there's the ability to always put another driveway in?
He doesn't have the ability to do either right now. He has no ability at this point until he's granted a waiver. So we could choose to grant no waiver for either one.
I realize that, and I'm just asking the board, are they willing to do that?
I'm not willing to vote.
Just said no.
No, we're not willing to do that.
So you're not willing to allow him to use the driveway, the farm road that goes through there now, through the farm to the house? You don't want him to use that at all? Is that what you're saying?
That's what we're saying.
No, I can clarify a little more. Once and if lot 1 is created, how Mr. Arrowood is given permission to traverse between the lot that he would own across the lot that Mr. Lee owns is none of our business. That's between them. If Mr. Arrowood and Mr. Lee are comfortable with Mr. Arrowood accessing his lot through Mr. Lee's lot, that's fine. We don't care about that. It's outside of our purview. But in terms of approving and creating a new lot 1, that is within our purview. And what we're saying is that we don't like this current configuration. There needs to be an approved driveway, and we're saying that we're disinclined to approve the currently proposed driveway.
And so if he is accessing, because as Sam said, through Mr. Lee's property to the property, then this will not be an improved driveway. It will not be a quote unquote shared driveway. It will not have a shared driveway agreement. It will not go to the town board for.
One neighbor cutting through another neighbor.
It's one neighbor cutting through another neighbor's yard at that point, which is not any of our business. But the approved shared driveway, the approved right of way with a driveway will have to be through
From
Mill Hook.
Okay, so if I could summarize, so you're saying he physically has to build that driveway now?
Well, that's what we're talking about, having a greater willingness to approve in the
Yes.
hypothetical.
So that's exactly the.
Yeah,
it would
well,
have to be designed.
that's what's in the application now, is that it would have a right of way to Mill Hook Road.
A
Driveway,
driveway,
driveway, not a right of way,
a driveway.
a constructed driveway that a car can drive on, that emergency vehicles can access.
That meets fire code.
That meets fire code. A
Okay.
real live driveway.
That would require a waiver to be granted by this.
And
board.
that, exactly, and we'd have to grant a waiver for that, and they need to officially ask for it. So I think they need to go back to the drawing board a bit here.
Can I know we're like going down the driveway path at the moment, but just to go back to the sound study, from the dimensions I'm looking at, it seems to me that it's going to be too close to the lot line of the new property for what when we went through this for doing the events, the distance to the next lot lines was a lot further away. And irregardless of who the current owner is, the lot line, the new proposed lot line for the plot 1 is going to be too close to the event space to pass the sound study.
Well, I think we have to run a sound study again to see
So
it.
do you all have access to see the map? You looking at the map? Because the properties
I
that.
look at that side, I think they're okay, but the thing is,
Hello?
right away.
So if you look at.
But there is not as high.
We don't really need to just. Sure, it just needs to be tested, because as Dorian said, he thinks it'd be okay in reading it, and
I was looking on a study.
Patrick
right.
brought it up, but, so there's no point in debating it at this juncture, it's gonna have to be reanalyzed.
Okay,
We're gonna go in circles and we have a full. So I think you go back and you discuss with them. And you know which way the board is leaning this way on it.
Yeah, just explain here, we can go like a piecemeal, okay, I like it this way because I'm here, but I have to look at the broader picture.
okay. We'll come back.
Move on then.
We'll go back to the drawing board.
Next is 2020-05. This is for Konstantinos Mastrogiannis, the owner, and Lumens Holding, a special use site plan approval for a 2.5, did I change it right to a KW, or should be an MW?
MW.
MW, didn't change it, an MW, megawatt utility scale solar farm.
Who is representing? Who's,
Here,
okay?
I'm here, yeah, Peter McAuliffe, yep. And we also do have sitting in, I think he mentioned earlier, Christian Schlesinger is also here representing the applicant, as well as myself.
Okay, is it just the two of you? There's also Emily, is that with your group?
I don't believe so.
So I would just like to throw out to the board right now that this is going to be a complex, big solar project. And I think we should retain, we can let the applicant go through some presentation here, but I think we have to retain CPL to go through the full analytics of this. And I don't know if it's worth to go through an analysis right now to some degree, or let CPL, let the applicant post escrow and work with CPL and have them review the application and get it into a sort that we know what is missing and not missing. Opening it up for opinions here.
I would agree with you.
I would
I'm
agree.
looking at the recent
Well,
information, and if it's looking at it very quickly, it's not up to the standards that I think we're eventually going to need. So at this point, rather than us act as engineering advisors to the applicant and the applicant's experts, have the applicant work with CPL. The code is very clear. There are examples from previous things that we've done here of what we're expecting. And this doesn't, we're going to be churning and wasting
Everybody's time going through
So,
things that, exactly.
I don't know what the escrow is going to have to be. I'm going somewhere.
I already spoke with CPL for what they thought the
But
initial.
rather than going around and around it again as to whether the thing can even be built on because of the soils and this, that, let it be analyzed by CPL and spend the time to go through it. And then both parties come back. CPL says it's in good shape. It's good enough for me. We'll look at it. I'm sure make some modifications, but this is not, from what I can see, working the way I would expect.
Exactly. We're not going to add value here, and we're really going to go in circles.
We could
and I
spend the
think
rest
waste
of the night
time.
just.
We spend the rest of the night doing this, and we're not experts, and it takes a dedicated, separate issue.
Yeah, there was several items, not conforming to,
I'm sorry. Gloria.
several items that were not conforming to 147. So I didn't know that CPO would do, so I just went through that. It's okay.
And that's what I'm thinking is for us to do that, it would be much more effective for the applicant to sit with CPL and go through all of that and get it
Okay, it's fine.
Get it in shape.
and then come back to us.
And
Yes,
suggested estimated CPO.
$6,000.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking is because now my time above an hour, I'm already above an hour of this, gets billed back, so you might want to make it 7,500, thinking of time that I'll
Okay.
have as well.
Because the last time, and I did make a note of that without your time added in, as your time is now added in, it was about between $10,000 and $11,000 for the previous solar that we did. So I think that's the best way, Peter, so you don't, we don't end up wasting everybody's time here and go through meeting of all of this. As you can see, Liz is on and she's reviewed the application and sitting in on this and reviewed our code. So I would make a motion to post $7,500 worth of escrow and have the applicant work with CPL to review our code, go through everything and get this in a shape that we're able to review it.
I'll second, but I would like to make sure we'll have a little bit more time to discuss what we have so far, just in broad overview, and also receive a quick overview from the applicant. There were a few things just in the basic structure that I'd like a little clarity on before we just take it.
Do you want-
Second, your escrow move.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstain. I agree, Sam, that was part of my thing, I believe discussion, so ask your question.
Well, the two specific, I guess I have one specific question, or not even too much a question, is just, I just really love, as part of the walkthrough, just an explanation of just who the different parties involved are and what the relationships were. I was just finding myself getting a little distracted by all the different names on letterheads, and just an explanation of that would be helpful to me. And then the other thing I was just gonna say at the outset is, I think all of the boundaries with residential parcels, we're gonna, as we've done with other solar projects, want to max out all of those setbacks. So we're given the latitude in the code to, I forget exactly what the multipliers are.
At an extra 50%.
But we've done that with other boundaries with residential, and here it's right up against one of the denser rural residential clusters in town. So I know I'm inclined to want to max out all of those setbacks.
I would agree.
So how come make it 37? How come it didn't make it 37, that particular condition? How come it wasn't added to the code?
The setback,
Mhm.
it is in the code that we can ask for an extra 50%.
You mean separate, not specifically related
It's not
to.
specifically within, we refer to another piece of code. It's not specifically in
The solar.
the solar.
In general commercial.
It's in general commercial
Okay.
and industrial, I believe, in 140-20. All right, so I think that is where Peter, you want to pass?
Yeah, I just have a couple quick questions, and appreciate everyone's time tonight. I guess one clarifying question. You mentioned, is it CPL? Is that the initials of the engineering firm?
Yes, it's Clark Patterson Lade, and I will
Okay.
have Liz Axelson, who is on with us now. I will have her reach out to you and you can start to coordinate together.
And the name of the firm is actually CPL.
It's actually CPL. They go by.
CPL.
If I could just ask the board a question, but you can let me know when you want me to ask the question.
Before you do that, Liz, could we go into some question about who's who in this application process?
Yep, and I was going to offer that. So I am here representing the applicant, which is Lumens Holdings, who is representing the property owner, Konstantinos Mastro Giannis, who owns the property in question at 48 Sampsonville Road. The engineers who prepared the plans, who unfortunately aren't on tonight, but who will be heavily involved with CPL throughout the process, are CNS companies located in Syracuse, New York.
Who's Omni Navitas?
So we are parts of the Lumens Holdings entity, but Lumens Holdings 3 LLC, which is out of New Jersey and registered in the state of New York, is the applicant. So I apologize. I know the cover letter was on Omni Navitas letterhead, so apologize if there was any confusion there. But Lumens Holdings 3 is the applicant.
And so the Konstantinos Mastrogiannis is the owner. He's got a
Yep.
property, Lumens Holding 3. Under Lumens Holding is Omni Navitas.
Correct, as part of that entity, yes.
Okay.
And it will be, I believe I guess there was another solar project that has come through before. I don't know if it was a similar framework with the property owner. This will be a lease agreement with Mr. Mastrogiannis for the life of the project.
So the leasing will be,
I don't want to overcomplicate it at this point. Ultimately, which I assume was the case with the previous project, there will be a special purpose entity that's solely set up for the solar array / solar system, but that will happen down the road, not to overcomplicate things at the first step here.
so you're gonna sell it off to a tax equity partnership?
A tax equity partner will be involved, but actually Christian, who is on tonight, is representing the ultimate owner of the system. He's here listening in.
So who are we going to be? Here I return to Mary Lou. We need to know who it is that we go to, obviously to give the permits to, but more importantly, who's the operating company and who's going to do the maintenance, and so
Well,
help me out there.
at this point, Lumens is the applicant.
Right.
Doesn't mean that down the road they can't assign it to someone else, just like we could give an approval to somebody for a subdivision and then they can sell it.
Okay. They need
Okay,
our
so we're
approval
gonna
to-
deal with the
They
applicant.
need our approval to do that.
No.
No,
Okay.
no.
And that's why we say that the maintenance agreement and the bonding, et cetera, is
That's where I
for
was going.
the person or their successors or
Right,
anybody
yeah,
that it
their
gets sold
successors or
to.
signs.
Because all of these things get flipped out immediately.
Yeah.
I just want to make.
And they have registration requirements with the. so
I mean,
that
they
we
wouldn't be
can
being made
decide
unless
that.
it was a great big tax cover. So.
Okay,
all right.
that answered my question.
One more.
Yeah, Peter?
I just another quick question just about the process. I don't know if you can give me any insight about what the step-by-step process was for the last project. I assume the planning board here, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I assume the planning board will be lead agency for the seeker process. Is that correct?
Well, we will put it out and see if anybody else wants to be lead agency. And we usually end up being lead agency, but
Sure.
That'd be our intention.
attention, but you never know. Somebody that is an involved agency could decide that they want to be lead agency above us.
Sure. So I guess, and that's a good segue. I guess my main question is if the board tonight is in a position where they can start that circulation process to at least get any responses back or lack thereof about any opposition to the Rochester Planning Board declaring lead agency. I see.
No, I would not recommend that. If I may speak now. Go ahead.
The application is in no way complete enough that we can circulate it.
Okay. Is there any insight just to get the ball rolling of possible items that we are missing prior to CPL, doing a more, I assume they're going to do a more engineered heavy review, but just in terms of any materials that are listed in the town code, I think one gentleman mentioned some materials that he saw. I don't know if there's any insight as to what exact materials are missing in your eyes at this point.
CPL is gonna be able to lead you through all of that. Liz is very familiar with all elements of our code, and they will help you start from the landscaping to the setbacks, to the positioning of the transformers, to the seeker process, to everything. So it's best that we just let her lead everything through that.
Peter, Peter, if I may, I was being nice. Everything's missing. I mean, literally, maps, appropriate side yard distances are missing. The positioning of the electrical appurtenances, there's a lot missing. Emergency vehicle
And we're not gonna
access.
go through that because it's a waste of time at this
I mean,
juncture
it's
to go
just,
through all. of it.
everything's
So-
missing.
So
What I
I
see
think
is a
we
bunch
should,
of
I think we're gonna
paperwork.
close this application, the discussion of this right now, and we'll have you post escrow and start working with Liz and with Mary Lou.
Last question, and I apologize for taking up more of your time. Who is that, or maybe Brianna, if you could send me an email to who that escrow is made out to and where it should be sent, all that information? Or is that going to be through CPL directly?
Brianna will contact you with that. She has all that. It goes to the town. And
Yep,
it sits in
okay.
escrow at the town.
Okay, understood.
All right, next. Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you.
Next is 2020-04 Henry Ridge.
And can I
Use permit.
get clarification on
Yes.
something? Okay, so, I appreciate the confidence of the board in guiding the applicant through this. Basically, gonna just briefly say that 140-37 includes many aspects of the proposed project that should be demonstrated on the plan. My objective would be that the planning board is going to end up with a plan set that demonstrates compliance with the pertinent code chapters. So 140-37 is solar energy. And then site plan and special permit includes plan requirements and standards. And then of course you have your bulk table. So I guess what I'm looking at are very rudimentary conceptual plans, and I'm happy to confer with the applicant's representatives, but I don't want to spend much time doing that because I feel that I would like to just give some general guidance, let them go back and start preparing detailed plans for the board. I'm not used to, coming in when something is so conceptual. But again, happy to provide the guidance. I just don't want to spend the funding that's going to be provided to do what might be construed by the public as design. That's all. So I just wanted to get clear with the board on that, and
Basically doing the
say it again, Mike.
I agree, Liz.
Okay.
Liz, I agree. That's, but I don't want to spend the time at night doing exactly what you just said. So some of
Fine.
those billable hours will be worthwhile to take him through and say, here is 140-20, look at that. Here is 140 can't remember 18 landscaping, look at that. Here is and get more of this on the launch pad to get out of a very conceptual project, as I agree with you, and towards something that is concrete we can work with.
So the board is
So I-
authorizing direct contact. Should anybody from the board or Brianna be on board, or will I just simply report back?
You simply can report back.
Fine, that's helpful. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you.
Is that okay if I send her my
Lauren.
notes?
Did you mind if I ask her a question from the town board's perspective?
Sure.
So Liz, I just asked Mike Baden, supervisor. So because the escrow goes through my account, can you just make us aware if your hours are approaching the limit of the escrow? So we don't end up with a situation where you go over and then we have to, chase the applicant for funding later.
Right.
So I would say if you get within, 15% of the cap, and remember, yours is a portion is about 6,000. Mary Lou's is the 1,500. So if you get to 5,000, let me know, or let Brianna know, so we can establish further escrow. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Mike.
So it's okay if I send you my note?
Yes, that'd be excellent, and I'll forward them on to Liz. Next is planning board 2020-04, Henry Rich, special use permit. This is the conversion of existing pottery studio into a grocery convenience store and office space. And they got a use variance in 1996.
Okay, so Barry, I'm assuming you're here for that application. We'll unmute you, and Mr. Rich, and Heather, you're already unmuted.
Hello.
Hi.
You,
Stephanie
Barry, and Mr.
Dazzler is here
You
as
don't have
well.
There, am I on?
We have you. And it appears we have Stephanie. We still don't have Mr. Rich yet unmuted.
I'm here.
And I apologize, the internet is not real strong tonight, so in case your voices are breaking up, so our apologies.
Okay, good to know. Thanks.
I don't know about the rest of the board, but we haven't really made a heck of a lot of progress from when they came previously on some of the key difficulties.
Seems the same application practically.
So
Well, they defined the amount of space, which like gave us a clearer number on parking spaces.
well, the first thing, right, the first thing on the parking,
Specifications.
you really, instead of us having to take a ruler and look at the scale, you should show the dimensions of all the parking, because the parking doesn't work. And under 140-49, we can require modifications to protect the health and safety, welfare, and secure and harmonious development. And under 140-50, we have the right to refer to other agencies and have the applicant reimburse fees. And under 140-55, we can condition to mitigate adverse impacts, for example, approve or not approve the use of the suggested parking. So the biggest difficulty we have here is the loading could be done. It's a little tight. That's so there I can see. But I tried to do what you were saying, Patrick, have the dimensions. So you have a 10 feet width for loading and a box truck is 7 feet wide. So you better have a good driver, okay? That's fine. Then on the other parking, I don't know if I measured it correctly because the measurements aren't there. It's 40 feet and 32 feet. None of the spots that are marked there are 10 feet wide. The ADA is not big enough either, that has to be wider. And so on the 32-inch width side before you hit buildings, 20 feet, or 32 inch, 32 foot, our minimum right now is, or our parking standard, the parking standard, pretty much standard parking standard, is a 20-foot minimum. Ram 1500 is 19 feet long. A BMW 5 Series is 16 feet long. So in your, to your advantage would be to figure municipal parking. I don't know, Mike, you can help here. The parking spots that line up along the fire department, are those municipal across the street? There's some that are like
No,
perpendicular.
the ones along,
Along the newly paved side.
no,
yeah.
that's fire department
Fire
property.
okay.
So the town property is the part that's back behind the museum, extending over
Toward here.
toward this property. The section immediately behind the fire district is fire district property, and the ones along the side of the firehouse are fire district property. So we can't We can't authorize those to be
Okay.
used.
So you could work something out, perhaps?
Can I ask?
Yeah.
It shouldn't public parking shown on the site plan? Is the county on the parking?
It's shown on the site plan, but it doesn't work.
It's not,
It's
no,
too small.
no,
It's too small.
Public
Well,
parking
wait,
is
can I,
not shown
can I
on the
just
site.
speak up here a little bit about the existing parking? So I'm sure the board knows that the parking as we show was previously approved by the planning board. That was some time ago. And I believe it was when the parking spaces were only required to be 9 by 18 feet, which is what
That's correct.
almost every other town in the county requires. And the space behind them would then be another 22 feet to turn around, which really is adequate. It looks small now because there's a planter up against the one building, but if that planter was to removed, the cars could physically come in and park the way they're shown on the site plan. Grant you, they probably don't meet today's code standards for dimensions, but quite honestly, the town of Rochester's dimensions for parking is a little on the big side for requirement. So from a practical point of view, it'd be very, very good for the business and convenient for the cars to be able to park here. And only when this filled up, if it was to fill up, would they use the municipal parking lot.
Well, the cars that are in there now all the time are never parked in this configuration. They always go straight in and it gets pretty full. I mean, you drive by it incessantly. So why can't this parking be creatively reconfigured? You drive around the back, go in one way and drive around the back, and you do some parallel parking.
Yeah, angled.
Can you do angled parking? Because angled parking needs less of a turn space. You drive in angled, and I don't know if you can go around the back and then come out the other side. So when you come out of the angle, we need some creative solutions here, not this is what it used to be, because even though that is what it was before, Barry, we have a responsibility, and it says in the code that we bring it up to par. And it's not up to our par right now.
Right, but you have to, but also at the same time, you have to understand these are existing structures that have been there for a long, long time. And we're trying to, to accommodate that. If the cars can, physically fit, can get in and out, even though it doesn't meet your standard, wouldn't that be acceptable? I mean, we can't move the buildings. There's also issue with driving around the back is that that would require driving over the septic system.
Okay, so that's an answer there.
So,
that-
so so they don't want to do that. And I mean, granted, the parking is tight, but it's physically possible for vehicles to come in and out. I mean, I could show you facilities all over the county here that are smaller than this that people get in and out of. One in mine I go to quite oftenly is the bagel store in Stone Ridge. You drive in there and you see that parking lot, and it's very unusual. People pull in and out of there all day long. Sometimes you have to stop and maybe make a K turn to fit into the spot correctly, but it's a workable situation. It's not ideal. It's not perfect, but we have to work with the conditions that are here. So we're trying to accommodate that, to fit it in, and this was a plan that's actually approved on the site plan. And grant you, I don't think it's ever been used in that exact configuration because I don't think any of the businesses here really had that much traffic, and they would just pull straight in and back straight out. So. We're just. But I agree with you. We should be showing more detailed dimensions on the plan. I can show you some car movement configurations. There's quite a bit we can do here to demonstrate the abilities for these parking spaces to function. I'm sorry, if you're speaking, I can't, someone's speaking up.
Sorry, fewer parking spaces and angle. I mean, try some other things instead of coming back with the exact same thing we saw before and we said, this is a problem. Going back and saying that the 1996 decision, where a lot of this, they didn't even use it. And if you don't use the use for 5 years, it ceases to have the non-conforming variance. So since 25 years ago, there were probably periods of time where this was not used. This would be a great project. We would love to have a grocery. We would love to have revitalization of the hamlet, but we're not getting anything to work with. You also probably gonna have to look up the fact that, so 140-42D, if you're paving it, which you said, you want to pave it, that could increase stormwater runoff. It is in the AP overlay zone. Part of the property is in the floodplain that you want to put the parking on. So I don't know personally if putting that pavement, if you really need to put pavement, crushed stone probably could be fine. If putting that pavement in is gonna cause a runoff problem and something that's in the aquifer protection and the flood district overlays. So there are engineering things that need to be looked at here that we're not.
Barry, I have a question. In the documentation that I'm reading, it says that there's prime farmland on this property?
Yeah.
Where in the world would prime farm?
Where it says that in the application.
It's in the EAF. It got a hit on the DEC website. There's a small corner of it that apparently probably back in the day had a soil type that was prime farmland before it became Main Street.
It's a little tiny corner of it.
Yeah, but it was a hit on the EAF, and you know, they marked that. I could say
I wonder, it's pretty amazing to me that any of that could have been prime farmland.
Brianna, do you have the Orbs letter that they referred from their August?
If you look at the final page on the EAF, it'll show all of the database hits, and that's one of those database hits that came up. So I'm just going off what it said.
And apparently what triggered that is the soil type, not how big the area is or anything. But there's probably that Unadilla silt loam, which is considered prime farmland in the valley. And there's probably some of that soil on this property. So it's just the database that hit it, and we can't amend that.
Yeah.
Mary, can I ask a question, maybe while we wait for that letter, just about how to understand like a site plan approval that is it's not exactly a non-conforming lot. I guess it's a not like, just what's the framework for understanding that as we're reading through our code? Like, is this a non-conforming lot because I mean, it is a non-conforming lot.
It's a non-conforming lot.
But there's also a non-conforming, which has been discontinued.
Has it been discontinued?
But it was approved before the current code. Like, so like, just,
Right, but
it
now
seems like there's a lot of layers.
We have to go according to the current code.
Right, so it's a non-conforming lot with an approved, now non-conforming use, but the approval's still valid.
Right.
Because it's like just the
As
layers.
long as it's continued, right.
But if it's not continued, then that approval is no longer valid, and then we just treat it as a regular non-conforming lot.
Yeah.
So is one of the questions we have to answer as a board, whether the approval of this old use is even relevant? Like, I've lived here for 5 years and I've never seen the use that was approved in 1996 being used. Like, is that approval now moot because it's been not used for 5 years?
That would be a building department decision.
That's a building.
Right, that's
So
not.
so for us to decide whether this 1996 decision even is binding on us in any way,
Well-
we could kick it to the building
Well, I
department
think
and
the
say,
building department sent it to us after this came to them, showing this use there, and they didn't say this is not a conforming use.
They said it needed this special use.
it's like a special use permit amendment.
Permanent, yeah.
Right, so they're saying that
So
is
can
valid.
we, because
We
like
can
if
kick
we're,
it back to them also, because if it's not been used for 5 years, then it's null and void, and it would actually be better to ignore all of
Right,
that, and
and
we're
just start
starting
over.
fresh. We're just starting fresh with a new, because it isn't, not only is it a,
well, if you want, you can write to the building department, write to Jerry and say you'd like clarification
yeah,
as to whether, this is
because like some stuff like
still an allowed use or whether it has been
expired.
abandoned.
So.
because if you look at 140-39,
Right.
non-conforming uses and structures, the rights to continue non-conforming uses. Well, this is The town board may subject to site plan review permit the reestablishment of an abandoned use when the structure is particularly suited to such and difficult to adapt. Well, we're not reinstating the use, they're changing. So this is 140-42, changes, additions, and expansions. Excepting for activities provided for above, single and two-family residential uses and accessory uses, all changes, additions, and expansions to non-conforming uses shall be considered special uses. Hence why we have it here as a special use right now, because they're changing, and it's not gonna be a pottery studio anymore.
Right.
They're changing the non-conforming use. So you're sort of harping on that when it doesn't matter. We need to do the change. It's now a special use, then we need to see how the special use to our code right now fits and get it to work somehow.
Because like, what.
Can I speak up a little bit, Maren? May I just speak up here? So I think we have two things here. We have a pre-existing non-conforming lot. The dimensions of the lot are pre-existing, non-conforming, and I think in your code that's allowed to continue. We're not asking to use anything that in the property that's not allowed. So the uses we are proposing are conforming. What's not conforming is the size of the lot.
That's true, but you also had, there were two variances back in the day. There was a use variance and there was a special.
But that may have been under a different code. I'm not familiar with that at all, but we're starting fresh here kind of with the uses, except for the residence. There's a residence that's going to remain. It's been a residence all along. There's this building, which was a studio that we want to turn into a retail food store. And then there's the antique store that he wants to continue. It's some type of retail, maybe not an antique store, but some other conforming retail type use. So all the uses are conforming that we are proposing. But the problem here is the size of the lot, the non-conformity of its dimensions and area. And I believe under the code, that's allowed to continue as a non-conforming lot.
Everything you said is fine, but it's now a new special use. And now we apply the new law, so we shouldn't even be thinking about the old stuff now, guys. It's a new special use. We apply the new letter of the law. Yes, we're saying, yes, it is too small a lot, but we're allowing it to continue with a new special use.
Right.
In this new special use, the parking doesn't work. In the new special use, you can go look. I mean, don't make me send you to Liz and CPL and have her go through it, okay? Because I'm one step away from doing that if you keep belaboring this. Work on the parking. You have to work on the stormwater. You're supposed to have a floor plan when you have a special, go through all the line items in the special use permit and come with some creative solutions that would be a great project. But
I think what we're saying is we don't want to depend on the old site plan because the old site plan is sort of not relevant to these new uses. You need a new special use permit, which means it needs a new site plan. I think there's like this temptation to use these small old parking spaces, but we're saying, well, those small old parking places are grandfathered in with this small old use.
Small old use, which is not happening anymore.
And as a new use, you need new parking spaces which conform.
So.
And if that winds up causing you not to make the threshold for the spots needed under the new code, then make a recommendation, will there be overflow in the municipal? The board may say, this is a great project for the board.
Exactly.
So we're okay with giving a variance on the parking.
So then we give you a waiver for the parking and you can have less parking.
Let me give you an example of a kind of a big municipality that's always giving waivers for parking. The city of Kingston, the uptown portion of Kingston where all the stores are, whenever something new comes in, there's no parking there.
What happened to everybody's volume? Fuck.
Hello?
Hello?
Did we lose audio?
I can hear you, Barry.
They're frozen.
I can hear you, Henry.
Barry, is it okay if I speak to the parking issue for a minute? Or should I not? Is it okay if I speak to the parking issue for a
You
minute?
can-
Or should I?
you know,
I don't think the town is hearing you, Henry. I see Liz
No.
raising her hand.
I'm just asking if it's a bad idea for me to say anything. I don't know what the format.
No, you could, if you have something to say it, you know. This is
It's not a
discussion.
private conversation, gentlemen, just so you know.
I know.
Yeah, we
Okay.
lost the planning board. They dropped offline. I believe the planning board's consultants here, though,
I'm here. Just
and some of
trying
the members.
So I'll repeat myself, or maybe I should just wait.
Yeah, I think
Probably wait till the board gets back.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Hey, there's my video.
Hey, Heather.
Hey, Heather.
Hello. I was like, oh, my video is working again. There we go.
So I guess the planning boards, they lost their Zoom, but who's hosting the Zoom? If they went out, we would have all
Mike
done it.
Baden was hosting it. Here he is.
Oh, Mike, yeah,
Mike. Oh, wait, there they are.
We're back.
but he's still muted.
Brianna seems to be unmuted. Are you there back, town board?
Maybe they can hear us and we can't hear them.
Seems to be symbolic. Hello.
Wow.
Well, just to have a discussion among us, the applicant and as architect, I see Stephanie, you're still muted, but I think what we need
It's
to
being
do,
recorded on YouTube,
we
so
need to make an argument to allow these parking spots to continue. I mean, they are functional. They don't meet their code clearly, but we can show a car automotive movements and dimensions and get them a lot more detailed information to show that cars can get in and out of here, safely. It's not an ideal situation, but it's a functional.
And safety is my primary concern. I can currently turn around in there with all the hostas and the antiques. It's not terribly easy, but when you remove the hostas and the antiques, I just think that nosing out is going to be a lot safer than imagining a car reversing while other cars are turning in when people can't see. Alternatively, having all the parking be in the municipal lot and having people run back and forth with every trip of groceries is just going to increase pedestrian traffic a lot more.
And it's not good for your business.
Yeah.
there's also that section of fence too that makes it look smaller that will be removed.
I agree, it does look small, but when we clear, I don't know how many feet of antiques and all the hostas, it'll be a lot of driveway.
I've been parking
And so
on.
also, Henry, you don't need to pave these, right? I mean, are you gung ho on paving them?
No, not at all.
We probably just need hard service for the handicap areas.
Is
and then-
back on. I'm concerned that we're having a sort of private conversation. I wanna
Yeah,
see if the
we
board-
are, but you can listen and that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, we have nothing to hide. I just want to make sure they can hear us.
They
I
can.
see them.
They're separated from the planning board.
I see them moving.
Everybody please
Mike
stop talking
Baden.
for a moment. We are back on now. Okay.
All right.
I think,
Great.
I think we left off. Very
Well,
good.
when the planning board dropped off, we solved all the problems.
Stop. This is easy. Figure out how you're gonna do the parking, and if you can't do it under the new code, then come and tell us you need a variance. And I think the board will be very flexible. That seems to be
Yes.
the only major
I
issue.
I
just
understand.
say that.
Yes, I understand that. We will do that. We'll come back with very specific details as to what we comply with, what we don't comply with. And I'll also show you some automobile movement actions in there to show you how cars can get in and out. Obviously, if somebody comes in there with a big, huge van, it's going to be a little bit harder. But most vehicles, common vehicles that the customers would be using, and the owner would like to keep the parking there for the convenience of people using the store. And then, of course, if it gets so busy that that parking fills up, they would use the municipal lot, which is, I think, the intent of why that municipal lot was put in. So I think
Got it.
we understand that the parking's a big issue with the planning board. We're going to focus on that. I'm just concerned, are there any other issues we should be looking at?
Yeah, just say nothing for the next couple of minutes while the board gives you those issues.
Can
Get
ask-
rid of the asphalt, we'd be satisfied, I believe, with
Yeah.
crushed
Gravel.
stone. The last time you were here, I didn't notice, you have something about you want to have office space above. I don't remember that from the last time. Is that something new?
It wasn't on the last application. They were still trying to figure out how much space would be used for the grocery versus
Okay, so
general office space.
that, and we need to consider that. That's fine. It's a permitted, use, fine. That's all I have is the parking and the asphalted parking lot. Anybody else?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Zorin, go ahead.
It's unclear for me, they're showing loading area on the driveway, but there is a very small door there, so I'm not clear how they're gonna load. Is that loading area
I load through normal doors every time I do vegetable delivery.
really?
Yeah.
So narrow? Okay. Okay, I have another question. If they going to use municipal parking, shouldn't be part of the site plan?
Yeah, we're asking that. We're asking them to include it.
To add it to site plan.
Well, they don't have to add
They just
into
have to
the site
reference.
plan, they don't have to map it out.
They don't have
just- No, but in the narrative, we need to know, or a note on the site. plan.
Exactly.
A note on
It
the
needs to
site
be noted on the
plan.
site plan or referenced. You also need an ag data
The
statement.
size of the second story as well as the first story on the plan?
Marion, you should have an ag data statement in the package somewhere. If not, I can resend it to you.
Yeah, I didn't see
There is
it
discrepancy
anywhere.
of 1,000 square feet, second floor and first floor, in narrative. It's a narrative.
And if you're gonna have offices, these are offices that you're gonna rent out separately?
Henry, that's correct, right?
It may just be my office. It may just be the grocery store office. I was just trying to be as complete as possible. We could potentially rent a desk to another local business if somebody needed space, but.
All right, could we have when you look at the pictures, could you show for me a little bit better, like the main door where everybody's going to be coming in? And also, a floor plan?
There is a floor plan. I can send it on to you. That's no problem. You have one, Stephanie.
I'm very curious. I know Maren already brought it up and we kind of went past it quickly. But the idea of going around the proposed general retail space with the parking and driveway. I know, Barry, you mentioned that the septic's there. That's not on the map. I had the same thought that Maren had. I'm curious, as part of the parking reexamination, I'm also thinking about just traffic flow. I think it's the width or whatever, that if you're doing parking nose in, just the backing in and out is hard, regardless. And if there were angled spots and we could have a one-way flow around, if that's at all possible, I think it would just be better. Yeah.
So since this is the primary issue, it seems, with this application, I just like to speak directly to the parking for a minute. Our primary concerns are safety, which is why we wanted to go with the existing plan. There are about 3 feet of hostas and maybe 4 feet of antiques that are currently in the main area that we would be removing. And whether it's people kind of running back and forth every time between the municipal lot and the grocery store, or backing into the main street while people are pulling in, it just feels a little bit more dangerous than people turning around and being able to exit. The neighbor behind us, Dave Roberts, actually specifically asked us not to drive around the retail space because he didn't want headlights in his house. And, obviously we want to be good neighbors. And so I told him I didn't think that would be a problem. It's not something we want to do. And it creates this gigantic hallway in half the parking spaces, as opposed to actually having spaces. We have more parking than anybody in town, but it's still, not enough space. So we wouldn't want to cannibalize half of it just to have an exit, if that makes sense.
Is there an opportunity here for shared parking with nearby businesses?
Nobody had any parking.
What, I mean, I don't think I mean, there are going to be two businesses. One is the antique store, and the other is what we're attempting to open. And then, you know, hopefully more revitalization happens with time. But I mean, other than the post office and you know, Brit Studio, and the museum, I don't think there really is other business in town.
Yeah, just to just point out to Liz here that this little hamlet town was probably built before cars. So the houses are all very, very close together. Almost every single house that has a driveway backs out onto the street. You know, they pull straight in. In fact, the post office, which is just down a little ways, they all back into the street. They all park and back into the street. So it's a very tight little community. And I think I can demonstrate the parking. I can show car movements in that there is adequate space for cars to turn around. Doesn't meet code. We will need some waivers, requirements, and I will do a presentation that's much more detailed and thorough on the parking issue.
I also wanted to mention that I reached out to Peter Nelson to talk about making sure that the fire department had enough space for their large trucks. Like, we're very cognizant of the fact we're across from the fire station. We don't want to get in their way.
I wanted to say to the planning board, I did look briefly at your parking regulations, and I see that your spaces are 10 by 20. In some of my other client communities, in fact, most of them, it's 9 feet by 18. With travel aisles, two-way would be anywhere from 22 to 24 feet. Obviously angled would be different.
So if I could point out, we have 40 feet between the buildings. So that allows an 18-foot parking spot with 22 feet behind it, which meets other town standards.
It sounds that way.
Well, you'll have to look for a waiver. I think that
Exactly.
as the zoning laws have been passed from time to time and reviewed, we've stuck with the 10 by 20 because we are the land of the pickup truck.
Good point. Good point.
So
That's exactly the reason.
I said the board, I mean,
There aren't a lot of Volkswagens.
Right.
My van is 22 feet.
Okay.
I think that's it. I think that's everything else that I thought of. Barry, I can double check in our parking frenzy here if there are other things besides the that are showing the door, how you get in and out. You don't really see where the front door is to this. The Heather picked this up, the interior plan, ag statement, and I think we should be, interior floor plan, I think we should be pretty close to what we need.
I have to say, I like this selfishly because for 5 months out of the year, my favorite coffee joint, Saunders Kill, is closed. So this would be a great place to go to, as opposed to going down to whatever the place is in Carnoxton on the corner of the gas station, Stewart's.
Best ice cream in the world. All right, thank you. You have your work.
Quick question, I'm sorry.
Yes, yes.
The general retail store, what kind of goods gonna be in that general retail store? Just curious.
Do you have any idea what you're gonna be selling in the general retail store?
I think it'll be, you know, antiques for a while. We're not exactly sure in the general retail store yet, but we will have some home goods for sure in the grocery store.
All right, perfect. All right, next, 2020
Thank you all very much.
But, thank you. Wilfred and David Neff, are you still awake in there?
I'm actually representing that too tonight.
Barry, Barry.
You can't get rid of me that easy.
We're here with you to the end, Maren. All night. That's us.
You are, you're it.
That's it.
Did you send a letter that you can represent them? Is it in there? Yeah, it's in there, okay. So I want to congratulate you on this. You hit every single possible referral that a human could do on a lot. Everything. There is nothing left in the city and the state of New York except referring to the city of New York for some reason. I guess if you were close to the Ashoka Reservoir, we could have one more.
Bring
So
it.
you,
Come on.
why are they doing it?
Same reason everyone does. They want to
I
see.
believe David Neff passed away, and this is being sold off to the heirs, or granted to the heirs. So it's been families,
I have a-
Yes.
It's unclear looking at plan how to access to
I
lot
agree.
one. There
He
is
just,
there is a bridge there.
he just took the words out of my mouth. How are you gonna access lot one?
There's an existing driveway there now. Well, Heather, I'll let you answer it.
There's an existing driveway you can see on the right-hand parcel. There's an existing driveway with an existing deeded right-of-way into that parcel, so they don't have to cross the stream in order to access it.
So the red line you have there is the right of way that,
Yeah, it's like kind of that purpley eggplant color, at least on my screen.
but it's on
Yeah.
it's on a separate parcel and it doesn't show anything going into there.
It shows that they don't have a driveway existing on their parcel, but it does lead to their parcel, the existing driveway. So they've used that over time to get into it, but technically it's not on their land, but they have in the past deeded it over. So they're able to access it and they do use it. for farming.
Do you have the docs on that? So
I
we
do,
can-
it's in the deed. Yeah, I can provide that.
So that would be great to make sure because it's a bit tiny and odd.
Mhm.
And well, we always end up asking, where would houses be? Because if you're subdividing, and probably the assumption is you're gonna put a house on it, where would they propose to put a house, or where would they propose to put well accepted, even if they plan to keep it vacant at this moment? We want to see.
This is agricultural land now. They farm this, and I don't think there's any intents at this point to put a house up, but certainly, you got 40 acres in each lot. And if it's farmland, that's usually good soil. So I don't think there's any issue at all being able to put a house somewhere on here. It's a large tracts of land.
To that point about it being farmland, the first thing that jumps out at me, and I guess I'll speak from my lofty position as a working farmer who is looking at land access all the time. The way this subdivision is proposed is you're taking, what's basically a 30-acre field of pretty nice farmland, and you're bisecting it with a property line, which takes a field where, someone like me in the future, might see a parcel, oh, that's a 40-acre parcel, it's got a nice piece of farmland. That's a parcel I might be interested in purchasing or thinking about farming on. And here you're bisecting that field, so what's likely going to happen is instead of there being the possibility of a farmer owning and using that field, you now have two landowners, neither of whom is going to really be able to use any of these fields because they've been bisected. It just seems like we could lay this out, especially if the intention is to keep it vacant, to actually better suit the potential use of continuing farming, so that we're not dealing with multiple landowners in a single piece of field.
I'm personally not seeing any issue with the access. I mean, there is a farm road bisecting the tree line between the two, and there's no reason why the landowners on the northeast side of the lot line between the two and the south, I mean, you can access both lots if you choose to, all the way to the back.
Yeah, my point is that I've spent many hours looking for parcels that would be suitable for a new farmer to purchase and start a farm. And the problem that you very often see is you have a field, which is a great field where someone could start a new farm, whether it's a vegetable operation, some kind of livestock operation. But instead of that field being one parcel, it's been chopped up into multiple parcels.
Well, but each, so the way it's divided right now, each of those fields, after divided, would be 15 acres big. I mean, that's a sizable piece of land somebody could do something with. It's a 15, you know, they each get 15 acres of what is now open hayfield.
They can also work out lease agreements with the landowner. It doesn't have to be a separate lot in order to use it as agriculture.
Yeah, this division is what was, you know, required by the estate.
The point that I'm making is very simply that you have here, you know, an 82-acre lot. And looking at it as someone who's actively practicing agriculture, this is subdivision is happening in the way that is least conducive to future agriculture possible. You're cutting every single field into 2 fields. I'm not saying that you don't have the right to do that in this application. I'm merely suggesting that there are probably ways of turning this into 2 lots what would avoid that problem. They might not be exactly equal, which again, I understand if this is, you know, part of the way of executing a will and creating 2 parcels of equal size. This is clearly the simplest way to do it. I'm merely saying that as someone who owns and operates a farm and is looking at fields all of the time, one of the problems that agriculture faces in this area is that fields such as this, which could viably support a commercial agricultural enterprise, are divided up in subdivisions in such a way that makes it not impossible, but significantly more difficult for those agricultural enterprises to exist. And I'm merely suggesting that, you know, as a citizen board, I'm a farmer, this is a town that has agriculture, I'm really suggesting that the applicant consider alternatives that would avoid a problem that is screamingly obvious to me, even though there are, you know, you can make the points about leases and yes, there's access, all of that's true, I'm not disputing the facts, I'm just saying that the simple reality is you're taking a good quality field that's 30 acres and you're turning it into 2 fields that are 15 acres, which will likely be, you know, owned by people who seek to build homes, and they will not, you know, they will likely go out of agriculture, which, you know, that's not under my control. I'm just suggesting that if the subdivision was done with a greater eye towards the needs of farm operators, there might be another way of constructing this subdivision that would still meet the needs of the applicant.
We will bring that opinion to the owner. We'll tell him that's what your opinion is.
Excellent. You also so you should put the setbacks, you've got 2 named streams on it. So this is gonna have to go to the DEC. It's gonna have to go to SHPO because you are within 500 feet of the rest house, how do you say it?
That's
It's gonna have to go to the Historic Preservation Committee. And alongside of what Sam brought up, it was gonna go to Ag and Markets. It's gonna go to DOT. It's gonna go to the Ulster County Planning Board. It's gonna go to the town of Marbletown. It should go to the Environmental Conservation Commission because you have habitat core lands, you have 2 named creeks. It's identified as a biologically important area. You have prime farmlands, you have farmland of statewide importance. It's in the floodplain development and the aquifer protection overlay districts. I think that's everything.
Well, can I add something?
There's a cave,
What?
there's notable geology.
Did you say which Neff passed away?
David, I believe.
David passed away. How was the property held? You have him down as a property owner? Is there an estate? Is there an executor? Did they hold the deed by joint tenants? I'm sorry? Okay, who is the executor of the estate?
I don't know that answer right now.
Okay, because that person's gonna have to join in the application if they're the property owner. David can't make an application, the estate, so he,
Yes.
I believe I believe his wife is also on the deed. I'm looking that up right now.
that's the case, she should be on as a property owner too. Why don't you get
I
a copy of the deed?
I'm pulling up the application right now.
All right, well, we don't know, we're not gonna do it live right now, you can just get it to us.
Yeah, if you can just get
Yeah.
me a copy of the deed.
His
to
wife,
the
it is.
acres.
It's both of them. It's Wilfred and his wife. So, and I do have it indicated on the map that.
Okay, if you get me a copy of the
It's
application.
Two brothers, isn't it? Two brothers?
Mhm.
All right, well, straighten that out, and whoever, get the proper person,
Get copies of the
Like,
deeds into
get the like
whoever
person.
owns this
get the living
to
people
us, so we
own
can
it,
determine how it's owned.
or the living state. So I think you should go back and present Sam's ideas and questions to the estate / Wilfred and see if they would be amenable to a different carve up, so we can try to follow our comprehensive plan and save our agricultural lands. And straighten up the legality so we know we're the right people on the application. And then we'll work on sending it to everybody in the world.
Oh, and Joey, we gotta refer to Joe.
And Joe.
Who's Joe?
Lauren, you said DOT, it's DPW, it's county.
All right.
Oh my God, I have my pen.
Yeah, it's the same parcel.
The same one that we were looking at.
But it's not a solar project.
For the solar.
Yeah.
It'll come up when we do the secret.
Thank you, Mike.
This is where the.
All right, guys.
Come in.
2020-06, Olga Byrne, major subdivision. Can you guys get a clean application, please?
How come the wetlands aren't looked at?
I don't know.
They got up.
Okay, everybody is unmuted.
The 5 minutes that I tried.
Yeah, there's a lot of topographical, the habitat cores need to be
Where's all the wetlands?
for the next one you're talking about?
No,
We're
we
on-
just
you've moved
did.
on.
You're on Byrne, you've moved
No,
on?
I'm
No.
still on the old one.
He's on, still on
So the
that.
old one? Yes, a lot of things need to be noted on the map, but we might as well have them see if they'll change the way it's cut and ask, we
Because
can
there
ask,
are wetlands here.
yes, the
Yeah.
whole back is wetlands. And the front, it's a name, they're named streams. So you need 100-foot setbacks
You
in
know,
the
I'm
front and
older,
back.
I go a little slower than you.
Okay, we covered that. I'm aging fast, I'm speeding up
I
towards you
see
at late
Olga
speed.
there.
All right, this is the Byrne
She's here.
subdivision. This is sort of a pre-app, because as I understand it, Olga hasn't totally decided. This is another one of those, a bit of a hairball. So the way it sits, if she wants to do 5 lots, which is currently on the map you see, it will be a major subdivision. Barry and Olga, have we identified yet legal documents that show that this is a private road at the beginning?
Well, we're proposing that as a private road.
Not that the highway department says, yes, it's a private road, and they won't put it.
Well, yeah, yes, it's not a town road, it's a private road. It's really just a driveway right now. There's actually 2 people use it.
A private road, Mary, if I'm wrong, a private road has to be declared as a private road. It's either a driveway, and that's a
Mark,
driveway.
it depends when it was established. It really, as we do things now, their driveways or private roads or maintenance agreements, but I don't know how far back this goes.
So. Somebody be it.
a private road that's not documented as such.
So since it is conceivable, a driveway that starts on the public highway, Queens Highway, we can ignore this private road.
Guys, that crosstalk isn't gonna help the microphone.
Guys,
Sorry.
are you on Burn or are you on Neff?
Burn.
It goes across the front is a DEC named stream all along the front. So a delineation will have to be done.
And there's wetlands in the back, right?
No, there's in the back.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So the back corner is Habitat Core where the house.
Maren, I'm not catching any of that.
He was looking for wetlands in the back and I said, no, the wetlands / stream are in the front. And in the back is Habitat Core lands. So it's tough to develop.
Maren, I'm only
Hey,
catching.
Barry, I have a
things
question.
you're
It
saying.
seems like the driveway,
The planning
it
board.
seems like the driveway is on somebody else's property.
The audio keeps coming in and out, and I'm only hearing half of what the planning board's saying. But I did hear the question about the driveway. Yes, there's an existing driveway that comes in.
Like it's on somebody else's property.
Oh, Tim.
It seems like it's on someone else's property on the map.
It is.
Well, it switches over.
Carol.
Yes, yeah, the existing driveway, if I can, if everybody hears me, I don't know if you're hearing me, comes in on this property, and then it forks off, one driveway into this property and one into the neighbor's property, which is, I think, to the northwest. And then her driveway actually goes back over. So they have driveways on each other's properties here. Yeah, that is a situation, and they have an agreement with the neighbor that they can drive over their land when it approaches their house, and the neighbor can drive over her land when it approaches the town road. So that's been a condition that's just been there for a long, long time.
Can we get a copy of that?
I can't hear.
Okay, well, we're gonna need that to be a deeded.
Well, that's what the neighbor.
Barry, it'll have to be a deeded. With the neighbor, it'll have to be a deeded access. It can't be just a casual
Okay, well, except for that.
agreement. So first thing and first is it needed to be.
That's a pre-existing condition. I don't think there's anything in the deeds. That's between two neighbors and really doesn't affect the subdivision.
We're going to need it. It is the entrance to this entire major subdivision that they are proposing.
No, the entrance is on.
Or you have to.
She owns the entrance. She has the right to tell the neighbor, hey, go get another driveway somewhere. It shouldn't stop this project going forward, forcing the two neighbors to come some kind of an agreement.
Barry, the way the driveway is shown to the existing house.
Yes.
It goes over to the Carroll property. That's the problem. You can switch that and put in a new driveway that stays completely on lot one, and we won't have that problem anymore.
If necessary.
They're going to go through the Carroll property. We need a deeded right of way from the Carrolls.
Okay.
All right, we will consider that.
We have to also look,
So I think the bigger question here is the fact that we want to build a private road which will serve all 5 lots, but will just provide direct access to the first 2 lots. And then after that, we show a common driveway that'll serve the 3 lots in the back. And I believe that meets the definition within the town's subdivision regulations. And so I'd just like to confirm that before we do the detailed engineering. We're going to profile these driveways and roads. We're going to cite all the septic sites. And, you know, we got a lot of engineering to do here, but I just want to make sure everybody's in agreement of the principle behind how we're going to access this property.
Can I just ask Mary Lou quickly, is it possible that this might need an open development area to establish that kind of access configuration?
Well, you know, I'm just looking at this and I'm still trying to figure out where this lot one goes. Is lot one right out to, right, but see, now we have this roadway, but where's I guess it goes down here.
I don't have a map.
It's 24 feet.
Who owns the private road / right of way / shared driveway to the driveway lot to Queens Highway, lot one?
Lot one.
Yes, right now we're
Well, it
showing
needs
that
to
as
be
lot
better
one.
shown.
That is correct. Right
Okay,
now,
and
lot one would own that road, that piece of land.
You have the purple and the blue, one right on top of the other, so we couldn't find where that lot line went for lot one.
So the way this is set up, given the constraints of the lot, this is a major subdivision. So everything you need to do for a major subdivision is going to have to be done.
Yes,
If
we
it
understand.
doesn't want to do a major subdivision, it has to come down to 3 lots.
You know, we understand the need for this major subdivision.
All right, then we just have to start, if you want, she wants to do that, first thing you can start with, and even if it's a minor subdivision, given the fact that we have a DEC stream, right now the septic looks like it's too close to it, you have habitat lands in back, we're gonna need them to do a third-party environmental study. So,
I'm not sure what you're asking for there.
You mean a jurisdictional determination or something
I mean,
else?
we have a biologist that we can have come out and inspect the property and identify any potential wetlands. There are no state wetlands out here. There are potentially.
there is Ulster County core habitat in the back, and you have a DEC named stream. So
Yes.
that counts as, the banks of the stream count as wetlands. This isn't just for your septic, this is for disturbance of the land.
Yes, and I believe that setback requirement is 100 feet, and we show that line on the map from the stream, that we're not doing any disturbance within 100 feet of the stream.
That's
It
correct.
sounds like you need a report of some type from this.
Yeah,
biologist.
we will hire a biologist who will go out and will evaluate all of the habitat conditions, the wetland conditions, and write up a report and bring it to the planning board. We have no problem doing that.
Aaron, I think CP rather than us negotiate with this guy.
And you know, I'm also thinking, and Rick brought it up, and I agree with him, if it's gonna stay a major subdivision, to really review, because it is not a tremendously good lot for this degree of use, to set escrow and retain CPL to go through this for you. So if Ola wants to keep this as a 5-lot major subdivision, I'm gonna make a motion that she sets escrow for $4,000. That, and you're gonna have some time on this too.
Set it for the same as the other project.
No, it's not as big as that.
This
no.
isn't nearly what the other
No,
project
no, no,
is.
no, no.
I'll leave it to the experts.
For $3,000?
Right, and then if we have to get it replenished, we have to get it replenished. I think 3,000.
Because Mary Lou is gonna have to spend quite a bit of time on this, and we're gonna have to coordinate quite a few factors of, we've been back and forth with Olga, between the code enforcement officer, between the planning, between a pre-meeting with me. So I make a motion to set an error for CPL to work on this project with $3,000. Do I have a second?
What about for Mary Lou? 3,000 for CPL? and
No, for both of them.
For both of it,
We
it
have
should
to
be
replenish, we have
I'll
to
second
replenish.
it.
All in
I wanna
favor?
just-
Aye. Again. Yep.
Sorry, I'm just thinking in terms of, I'm assuming is there already a submittal to review, or is there a submittal forthcoming?
There's a sketch
This,
plan.
at this juncture, is the sketch plan that we have. Now, if she comes back and says, I only want to do 3, then we'll just return the money and you won't do anything. But as it sits right now, all of the things that we've been discussing, and if you go through our subdivision law, need to be added in for a major subdivision. So 125.
And
They have to start going through everything in the major subdivision.
Liz, it's Mary Lou. I would like to go over the sketch plan with you to discuss the roadways, the driveways, the water problems or lack thereof, hopefully.
I guess I'm just thinking if.
So we probably could start with that, with setting What?
We lost you, Liz.
Oh, okay. I stopped because I thought other people were talking. So my feeling is, in order sometimes to keep these applications moving, if we're going to be reviewing a submittal and then discussing that review with the board, or having another submittal come right on the heels of a written review, I would suggest 4,000 so that we don't have to stop and get more, so that maybe we could make some progress. That's my suggestion.
Okay, would you like to make a new motion?
So
to?
if Maren
I
wants
will
to.
remake the motion for a total of $4,000 of escrow to be posted before the application goes forward. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Against? Abstain.
Brian.
All right, so first step there is Mary Lou and Liz will get together and look at the application as it is and see what else needs to be clarified.
After the escrow is.
Exactly.
I have just one other question. Barry, multifamily housing,
I'm sorry, I can't.
explain a little bit more. Are you talking about 2-family housing?
No, so I
On the
don't know where
application-
multifamily housing came from. This has nothing to do with multi-housing. We did not have any of that in the application. There was something that the applicant had talked to some designers at some point, considering another project. That never happened, never went anywhere. Apparently it showed up on some database someplace or something, I don't know. But this is not multifamily, this is single family. These are all
Right, there was an
single-family homes.
advertisement. There was an advertisement for this property with the exact site plan that we're looking at, posted on real estate websites showing that the subdivision as you have it right now, the major subdivision, your picture, and in the pros it said with some potentially multifamily houses. So that's why we brought it up, to see if that's yes, true, or no, false.
It's false. Maybe Olga, you could speak about that?
Sorry, I think I was. Good evening, everyone. That was connected to Rodrigo's website with his brother. They have a design firm, and they've been putting together a bunch of projects. They have been for different projects they're working on, some connected to this potential subdivision, some others, and some of the ideas were for potential multifamily houses, but that's not what we're interested in pursuing. We haven't talked to anybody who would be interested in that, and certainly if it requires some extra, step or something, then it's not necessary.
So do you intend to be the developer of this project? Or is this,
We intend to sell 2 lots. Right now, that's our goal, is to sell 2 lots.
just to sell the lots? Pre-approved lots?
Pre-approved, do you mean with Department of Health approval?
Yeah, they would have to be.
You plan to construct houses on them and sell them with a dwelling on it, correct?
No, we don't have the capital for that. We plan to refer buyers to contractors, and they can work out, a contract with a local contractor. We do have design plans for homes that are similar to ours. And ideally, our goals are for one, kind of minimal obstruction to the land. Where our house is, we still have all the trees around it. We haven't cut down any trees other than what was needed for our house. We hope that people with kind of a similar mindset would buy the 2 lots that we hope to sell. And we would also offer the service of my husband, together with his brother, who's an architect, of providing design plans or sketch design plans for them to then work with a contractor to build.
All right, perfect. We have a plan there also that takes care of that. Mary, Heather, you've got a lot of work to do. And.
But can I guess we're not finished yet, are we? Or.
No, if you have anything else to say, please say it. We're done, though. As far as any questions here, we're done. We have a plan of action, so we're done on our side.
Maybe just explain to the.
All right, thank you.
No, sorry. Can I think we're not, I didn't know if we were still also going to discuss that private road and the driveway. And Maren, you'd asked about major versus minor subdivision. Can we, before we.
Yeah, I think, Maren, what we'd like to discuss is the ability to have a private road in, to have the private road as we show, which comes in, a short distance with a legal turnaround, and that'll serve all 5 lots, 2 of them directly to that private road. And then we'll have a common driveway for the other 3 lots. I just want to make sure the planning board doesn't have any issues with that type of configuration for the development, for the access.
Liz and I want to discuss.
Mary, that is what Liz.
I don't know, because I haven't seen.
Mary Lou. All right, so when the escrow is posted with the town, they will get together and discuss that.
And we will let you know.
And we will let you know.
And Brianna can send me a link.
But can I understand a little bit better what the escrow is for exactly, and then how many other steps would be involved there?
Yes, you can read through the chapter 125 for major subdivisions, and all of those steps will have to be done. And that is what Liz and Mary Lou will work on. The escrow is to pay the lawyer, our town lawyer, Mary Lou, and is to pay a planning consultant so we can review the plan and make sure that all those steps that are needed to be done for a major subdivision are done.
And this is, sorry, go back.
After they review it, you will come back to the planning board. We will look at it. We will see if we need more information. We will do seeker. We will send it to agencies, and maybe more work will have to be done by Mary Lou and by our planning consultant.
And you mentioned this is not part of the process for the minor subdivision?
No.
It could be, because this is a difficult lot that you were trying to develop. You'll almost guarantee there will be a lot fewer steps, but the first step of getting through, because this is private road and the way the driveways go, there is going to be some degree of discussion that Mary Lou and Liz will have to do. It will probably be less, and it will probably be faster with the minor subdivision and using less of the land, but you still will have some upfront. You could be rebated some of the escrow.
But make it clear there, if it to be.
Could you just tell me what would be, like, would escrow be required if we say, if we were to just go for a 3-lot subdivision with presumably just a shared driveway?
Some degree will, because there are still a lot of questions on this piece of land and the drive situation. Probably less.
And what would be the escrow requirement?
Why don't you make the decision of what you want to do? It should not be based upon escrow. It should be based on what you want to do with your land. So go back. Well, right now, we're treating this that it is a major subdivision. You post escrow. You can come back with a new plan with 3 lots, and we'll review it as a totally new plan then. But we're not gonna go through this over and over again. We're sort of done. You
And
need
if
to
it
make the
ends-
decision.
If it ends up costing less than the first, you get that refunded.
If it costs less, you get the money back. Whatever, if they use $300 of it, you get all the rest of it back. All right, guys, I think we're done. We're gonna cut out here and close this meeting. I would like a motion to adjourn.
We'll make the motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstain. All right, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Bye, Barry.
Yeah, night.